We've got some brand new poll numbers that shed light on how Americans are reacting to President Trump's roughly first 50 days in office. The president's job approval sits at 45%, according to CNN SSRS poll, which is exactly where it was at this point in his first term back in 2017. 44% approve of his handling of the economy. That's tied for the worst number he's ever had as president. Digging a little bit more deeply into these numbers, nearly 9 in 10 Republicans approve of the job President Trump is doing on the economy, with just over a third of independents feeling the same way. Joining me now on set is NBC News senior national political reporter Sahil Kapur, former Michigan Democratic Congressman Andy Levin. He is now a distinguished senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, and Sarah Chamberlain, president and CEO of the Republican Main Street Partnership. Thanks to all of you for being here. So we've got new poll numbers out. Sahil, let's start to break them down, the ones that are interesting to you. Obviously, the overall approval rating, but also the fact that he's underwater when it comes to his handling of the economy.
Yeah, so firstly, the overall approval for presidents around this point in the first 100 days tends to be the high water mark. They usually only get worse from here, not better. That's how it happened in the president's first term. Big question, does it stay the same? Does it get worse? It would be very unusual if it gets better. But the economy approval really jumped out to me, Kristen. The 44% approval, that's tied for the lowest he's ever had in this poll. 56% disapproval. It's higher than he ever had. He never hit 50% in his first term. Before COVID, when the economy was good, he didn't even hit 50% disapproval. After COVID, when he still got high marks for the economy, it was one of the reasons he overperformed in 2020. One of the reasons he came back in 2024 because of this nostalgia for the Trump economy before COVID hit that people wanted to go back to. If these economic disapproval numbers get worse, he loses his single greatest political asset. Still a big if.
Sarah, how are Republicans viewing these numbers and this moment where there is a lot of uncertainty around the president's tariff policy?
So the members of the Republican Main Street Partnership do live in the swing states, so we do keep control of the House and the Senate. Right now, they're not that concerned. There's a lot being thrown at the American people, and they just think that American people are a little overwhelmed. If these polls are still like this in June or July, we will have a different discussion. But right now, they're really just not concerned.
Congressman, what do you see in these polls?
Just wait till the inflation numbers reflect current reality of all these tariffs, of prices going up, the price of eggs are out of control, the prices at the supermarket more generally. I think the poll numbers are likely to get worse because we're headed towards a Trump slump, I think.
Do you think they get worse by June, which is what Sarah's saying is
yeah, I expect they'll get worse because this is, look, I'm from Michigan. And we know in Michigan, both because of not just cars and agriculture, we're a huge farm state. And all these chaos of tariffs, yes, no, this country, that country, all our best friends, it makes no sense. And people are really afraid about what it means for the economy and their jobs, their basket at the supermarket.
Let's look at what people are saying about the tariffs, because we have numbers on that, too. In terms of President Trump's tariff policy, 39% approve, 6% of Democrats, 29% of Republicans, 80% of Republicans approve, Sahil. I mean, it shows the fact that this is still very much Trump's party. What he's doing is controversial. There's not certainty in it. And yet those numbers suggest Republicans are squarely behind him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a division among Republicans in Congress about the tariffs. Some of them secretly don't like them, but they want to stand with the president. They want to at least give him a chance. Some of them, like Senator Tim Sheehy of Montana, who I spoke to a few days ago, say they're willing to give him a shot, that they believe there might be some temporary disruptions, but the long-term growth will be worth the while. And then there are others like Senator Rand Paul who are very vocal critics of the tariffs. They say it'll harm Kentucky in innumerable ways. And if that 80% number falls, then I think we could see a lot of Republicans more vocal against Trump. I think that's the single most valuable asset he has in keeping GOP members of Congress on his side.
I want to play a little bit more of what we heard from President Trump today in the Oval Office. Get everyone's reaction on the other side. Take a look.
These people are sick. There's something wrong with them. There was no standing for anybody. The only thing they liked is when they heard about the death taking place with Ukraine. They were happy about that. The Democrats have to get their act together. And if they don't vote, then what you're going to do is you're going to have taxes that are going to go through the roof. You're going to have a very bad time. You're going to have some very bad things happen. And people are going to blame the Democrats. And Schumer is a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned. You know, he's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
Sarah, wow. I mean, is that the type of messaging that resonates? And, you know, again, you're talking about wanting the poll numbers not to go down by June. Does that really aggressive language with Democrats concern you at all?
I would have articulated it a different way, of course. But he's not wrong. I mean, the Democrats do not have a message. They do not have a messenger. I mean, they're kind of all over the place. There's the potential they're actually going to shut the government down come this week. So I agree with them on that. The Democrats have no message.
Okay, I got to let you respond to that. Do the Democrats
First
have a message?
First of all, Kristen, as a Jewish person in America, it's disgusting for the president to say that a prominent Jewish person isn't even a Jew. You know, and that the fact that a Jewish person might empathize with our most difficult other, and that's Jewish right there. You know, so that's horrifying. And look, if the government shuts down, it's Trump and the Republicans in Congress. They control the presidency, the Senate, the House. When we had tiny majorities in the 117th Congress under President Biden, we passed sweeping legislation. He's not even talking about any real legislation. He just can't even keep the government open with majorities in both chambers.
Sahil?
Could I just fact check one thing he said about the budget? He said if Democrats don't vote for this, taxes are going to go up. He's doing this entirely on a party line basis. This is the reconciliation process. Right. Government funding is one thing. They do need Democrats in the Senate because there is a 60-vote threshold, and we might be looking at a shutdown on Friday if there isn't some kind of deal there. But the reconciliation bill, that is Republicans only. If there is a tax hike, if he doesn't get what he wants there, he's got only his own party to blame.
Sahil, that's an important fact check. Thank you for that. Talking about this government shutdown, you had Leader Schumer come out and say, no, we're not going to vote for this. You can make a deal with us. You need our votes, so make a deal with us. Let's get something that we can sign off on, a shorter-term measure. How do you see this coming together? Do you think the government's headed toward a shutdown?
It's very much an open question right now. The problem Democrats have is that they weren't at the table at all for this bill. So they worry, among other things, about the precedent it would set if House Republicans can write a bill, negotiate it with the president and the Freedom Caucus, and just throw it over the Senate. And they expect not only Senate Republicans to swallow it, but also Senate Democrats. That's not something that they want to set a precedent on for the upcoming government funding fight. So unless they find a way around that, now it's possible that Democrats can say, give us some votes on amendments and we'll let the chips fall where they may. They might still vote by Friday to keep the government open. But right now, this is very much up in the air.
Sarah, how do you see this playing out and this argument that Republicans control the White House, the Senate, and the House, and ultimately, if they want to keep the government open, get a deal done with Democrats that they can sign off on?
Well, since we do control all three branches, I think with Chuck Schumer's comments, they're going to lay this on the Democrats, on the Senate Democrats. We did our job in the House, which was very close. We did get one Democratic vote for it. But this is going to be laid on the senator and the Democratic Party. I think we've done our job.
Congressman, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, well, that's what they'll say, but it's not true. You know, as Sahil said, they didn't involve Democrats in writing this at all. Yeah. And the Republicans are already dismantling the government. Numerous courts have found different parts of it are unconstitutional, illegal in terms of contradicting statutes. So they're already shutting the government down. And why Democrats should give them a blank check to go ahead, it mystifies me. I think they should stand up and be counted to create a real opposition.
Well, I would actually argue that if the Democrats do shut the government down, they're giving President Trump even more power because there'll be no checks at all on him because who knows when they'll get it reopened. I think that's a huge issue.
And more pain.
And more pain.
Workers. Now, Republicans are counting on that pain going to Democrats if the Senate Democrats block it. But another problem that the Democrats have about this is the DOGE situation. This is their only piece of leverage all year, the government funding bill, the 60-vote threshold, to stop, to at least try to stop what Elon Musk and DOGE are doing. They're asking for guardrails and language to prohibit, agencies from being dismantled unilaterally. They think it's a power of the purse, a constitutional issue, but they're not getting that.
Well, and there is a theory that a government shutdown would only embolden Elon Musk for that very reason, because effectively it would make it easier for him to say, look at all these workers. We don't need them. We're going to cut them off as well. I mean, how much are you hearing about that on the Hill, Sahil?
Oh, it's a very real concern. That's why Senate Democrats took all the way to Wednesday, when everyone's known for about a week that this is where things are going, to speak out. Even going into this meeting, we talked to multiple senators, our Capitol Hill team did, who are divided, who are torn on this. They worry about the pain of a government shutdown. They just don't want to put, their federal workers, their constituents through it.
How concerned should Democrats be about that potential impact if the government does shut down, that it could potentially embolden Elon Musk and there could be some political pain for Democrats.
Well, I really agree with Sahil that this is still an open question because Republicans might come to Democrats and say, let's negotiate something that works. But if they don't, I think Democrats are, believe me, as you, I think, said earlier, they are hearing it from their constituents, their voters, that they do not want to give a blank check to Donald Trump and set the precedent, as Sahil said earlier, that they can do whatever they want, write something in the House with the MAGA and Freedom Caucus people, and then the Senate's just going to pass it with Democratic support? No, I don't think that's going to work.
All right, we'll have to see how it plays out. It's going to be a dramatic few days. Thank you all for joining us to set the stage. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.